And we are live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Undead 3XVI, and welcome to the Gaming Perspective Podcast, the affiliate of the Inner Circle Gaming Network. And welcome to another exciting episode. We're on episode 13, so that's a pretty exciting number. Friday the 13th was my birthday, so my birthday. Yeah, well, Friday the 13th in August, but yeah, I was born on the Friday the 13th, so this has always been like my favorite number
creepy
growing up. So so welcome to episode 13. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. We got some Days Gone info that came out this week, some Nintendo Online, which I will try to keep the roasting to a minimal, and we're going to talk a little bit of third-party E3 stuff that has been kind of leaking around. We're going to talk about some of these E3 leaks that have been popping out and what they could possibly be. But without further ado, I will introduce my panel, starting off with the regulars with Mr. Samuel Tolbert. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, but we're over, so we need to just keep on, get a move on, get into these topics. Let's go.
All right. Yeah, I kind of pulled a Cal tonight. My bad. Rage.
Well, I'm RageVirus_X at Twitter and at TCIGN.com. There. Let's go.
All right. And my guest for the evening, if I butcher it, I am so sorry. Fatal Mephisto, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic, and you did not butcher my name at all. Good, sir. So thanks for having me on your show. I'm glad to be here.
Anytime, man. Anytime. All right, so we're going to dive right into this. So Days Gone. Game Informer got the exclusive look at Days Gone with a bunch of sweet info and all the other sweet tidbits that come with these month-long exclusives or week-long exclusives that we've been seeing. IGN had State of Decay 2. We saw Spider-Man get the Game Informer treatment. Now we're on to Days Gone. So who here has seen the Days Gone treatment? We'll just kind of go down the line. Like, who's been paying attention to this footage so far?
I've watched almost all of it.
I watched,
including the 40 new minutes that they put out today.
Yeah, I only watched about half an hour of it, but what so far I've seen, it looks pretty good.
Nothing for me yet, so
nothing for you yet. Right on. Okay, so I'm gonna touch on the first thing that kind of struck me with this one. Is anyone kind of weirded out that they've got Days Gone as a feature right in May when the game's not even till next year? Does that seem a little
early?
Like, does it seems odd to me. It's almost like they thought this game was going to come out in June, July, and they scheduled this in advance. And now they're sitting on it and they're like, well, guess we got to show it off.
I don't know. That footage looks awfully polished.
Game Informer
looks really good.
Here's the thing. Game Informer has shown things in advance before. Someone, I'm sure, is going to quote me on this and say I'm wrong, but I believe they showed the Order 1886 was their cover piece for November or October in 2013, if I remember correctly. And that game came out in 2015, right?
Evolve was another one that they did too as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that was almost 2 years or 1.5 years in terms of the Order, and then Evolve was several months in advance. So it's a little unusual, but I'm not going to get too hung up on it.
Right on. So what's everyone's thoughts on this? Like, where was your hype for Days Gone before this? Where is it now? Kind of deal. We'll start with Sam. So where's your hype meter for Days Gone right now?
My hype meter for Days Gone. Well, here's the thing. My hype meter for Days Gone after the E3 2016 demo was probably at like a 7 out of 10, if I had to throw it on a number scale. And after the E3 2017 showing, it rose slightly, but then it fell again when I saw some behind-the-scenes footage. It fell to like a 5 out of 10. With this, it's gone up to maybe a 6. It's complicated, but I'll dive into exactly why I say that later on. It's a little complicated.
Right on. Rage, what about yourself?
Well, I guess for me, when it was first announced, I didn't look too much into it. What I saw originally at E3, it looked really good. So I was like, okay, well, it's another zombie game. I'll probably end up getting it because for some reason, zombie games are always something good to pick up. And usually, since it's oversaturated, you think it get kind of boring, but not so much. So my hype for it has been kind of meh. And after seeing a lot of this current footage, I'm still kind of meh. Like at about 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10. Just It looks good, but I see a lot of other games put into it into this game. It doesn't seem very individual in a lot of things. But
all right.
Yeah, that's just my take.
Right on. Fatal, where are you sitting with your hype for this game?
When the game was announced back in 2016, if I remember correctly, I was kind of hesitant on it at first. I was like, oh, hey, cool, another story-driven zombie apocalypse game, now just with motorbikes. I'm like, okay, I can see where they're trying to go with this, even though I was a little upset at the fact that Sony Bend wasn't giving me Siphon Filter, but I heard a few things word of mouth here and there since the Game Informer stuff came out, and it's definitely kind of pulling me more towards being a day one buy for me. But we'll have to wait and see how things go. But at the start of it, though, it was kind of like another game that I can see myself kind of being ignored for me from the Sony exclusive wise. But we'll see how time goes on.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of like, when I first saw it at the E3 2016, I was kind of like, I'm not a huge fan of, like, I'm gonna get crucified for this. I'm not a huge fan of The Last of Us. I thought it was a good game and everything else. I don't think it's not a masterpiece in my mind, so I didn't really enjoy it. So this game, yeah, I know. Yeah, I get that a lot. But that being said, I love the zombie genre. Like, I endlessly wasted hours in Dead Island, Left 4 Dead. Mindless zombie killing is fun. And there's a lot of unique things that Days Gone looked like it was going to do. And like with the hordes and the size and just the general scale of the game they were trying to accomplish was very ambitious. So that had me intrigued. I was kind of worried back in 2016 that this was going to feel like a cookie cuttered The Last of Us. They're just going to repeat the formula that they used with The Last of Us. But this Game Informer piece has done a very, very excellent job in showing what makes it different from The Last of Us, which is very, very good, because I think you can have two style games in your, or same genre style games in your first party catalog, but as long as you do a good job at advertising what they do differently. Like Last of Us focuses very, very much so on dealing with each zombie is an individual threat, or clicker, sorry, is an individual threat. And everything, and humans are a large threat as well. And this game does a really good job of being very similar to Left 4 Dead. And this is mass hordes. Like, we're talking hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of zombies that you have to deal with, as well as fellow human beings and everything else. I think it's got a lot of potential. It does look kind of janky. But once again, they're saying it's pre-alpha footage. I don't know how true that is. It seems kind of weird that they'd be this far along in development and it's still pre-alpha footage. But I'm interested in the game, and after God of War and the quality of games that Sony has been outputting, it'll be a most likely a day one buy for me, just in the credibility they've built with their first party lineup so far.
No, I could see it. Like, one thing that I really took away from Days Gone was, of course, a big Last of Us kind of feel to it. But from what I've seen, I still can't pick anything that they kind of are trying to make it its own. Like, I don't know how to explain it properly. It just, everything that they're using has kind of been overused in a lot of situations. The whole survival zombie and whatever other situations that they tend to get into seems to, I don't know. It's interesting.
You feel kind of worn out by the zombie genre as a whole, kind of deal.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's very difficult to try and make something so unique and individual for you to stand out in that genre too. So I think,
the one aspect I enjoy by Days Gone is the implementation of biker culture into it as well. I think that'll be a good way, because it has to make its distinction from other style of games, and like the size of the hordes and everything else will be a huge indication of variation from other games. But it's like, it's kind of the same things as, like, if you take Dead Island and Dying Light, they're technically zombie games. They're technically the same kind of style. You're in a city dealing with a breakout kind of deal.
Yeah, they're basically exactly the same games.
Yeah,
with different stories.
Yeah, with different stories. But the thing is that there's a difference between how you play Dying Light versus how you play Dead Island. And I think that's the main thing with Days Gone is I think it's going to take a different spin on this genre. And to be brutally honest, if Sony Ben can make a zombie game with a really, really solid story, I'm all with it. Because as a general rule of thumb, zombie games and movies are I say generally because there are some exceptions. They're generally very horribly written.
Yes. Like you said, for the few exceptions, which do exceptionally well. But when they do well, they do very well. So they kind of have to hit that golden sweet spot to really, I think, take off on the level that most fans might be expecting them to. But we'll see. I don't know. It really all plays out on how polished off it's going to be, because this Game Informer footage that we've been seeing looks pretty good for it being alpha. I don't know. This could be like beta, late beta for all I know. It just looks that good. If it's going to look any better than that, I'll be very interested.
I remember hearing something back when the game was first revealed and they showed off that gameplay at the end of Sony's E3 2016 conference. I remember in an interview something about how the crafting system in this game was supposed to be vastly unique to it, like to the way they were going to design it. Like you could be out in the world and like you can like just grab a piece of like wood from like a barnyard or something like that, just like loosely hanging off, and you can craft something with it. You know what I mean? For like defense wise or trap wise or something like that. Now, if they do something like that to the point where they put like a big like heavy focus on that with like different types of traps and unique things in its own crafting thing, I think that can also be another element too as well. I can actually kind of shine for that game and make it stand out amongst everything else that sort of carbon copy, if I can say that so loosely.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing I actually loved about The Last of Us 100%. Was the survival element to it. The whole crafting section of that game, like where you could craft things and upgrade your equipment and all that. I really, really love that style of system. It added a sense of immersion to the game. And I love that kind of stuff. And like, if Days Gone has something similar to that, like they're talking about how the motorcycle is fully customizable and everything else, like both on like what it does, how it runs, everything, even cosmetically. Those kind of games, I love those kind of games. So if Sony Ben can pull off Days Gone absolutely amazingly, I will forgive them for not making another siphon filter. Maybe.
I will say a good crafting system goes a long way in a game. If you don't do it right, it kind of like that's more than half of the gameplay most of the time for a game is the crafting system, and you just go, is it good or not? If it's good, your enjoyment's going to go way up. If it's not very good, you're not probably going to play it for very long.
This is true. Well, but you can use God of War as a perfect example. That skill tree system was
that was all perfect. That's exactly, I think,
it built on
like a carbon copy way to do it.
Yeah,
it's a good way to do it. Good way to do it.
It's a good way to do it, and it builds on your moveset and everything else. And I think with Days Gone, I really don't have any reason to doubt anything Sony puts out at this point. That's the main thing. I really can't justify being like, well, you guys did put out this game. Like, okay, you guys put out Knack 2. That's about the only thing I can put in your shoe right now.
Not every single one's going to be a gem, though. There's going to be a lot of good ones, but some of them aren't going to be as good as expected.
This is true. And like, I think one thing this Game Informer piece has done a fantastic job of, it's shown off the game really well. And it's shown off the scope of the game and the developers. There was a video, I think it was the lead developer, and it was like 100 and something questions, quick time answers. They were just like quick questions, quick answers, and things like that. Just it puts people's mind at ease with these games, because when you hear a developer talk about very ambitious projects and all their different ideas and everything else, you're like, oh, that's really, really cool. But we saw it with No Man's Sky. Is developers can have really ambitious dreams for what they want to have in their game, and they may have full intention of putting that in their game, but whether or not that comes out in the finished product can sometimes vary, so to speak. And in conclusion into that, because I don't want to dive too heavy into Days Gone because it is just early footage and everything else. Briefly, I want to touch on the story. People are saying that the estimation right now is that it's a 25 to 30 hour story. We just got God of War. That was a 25 to 30 hour story. And we got Detroit, which is apparently being pegged for 25 to 30 hour story. Do you think that's the new the new standard for Sony's first party single player games is going to be? Do you think they're going to have lengthier single player campaigns? Like Sony's first party's always been known for its single player, but it's definitely, they're getting longer. And I don't say that as a bad thing, but do you guys think as a whole that Sony's trying to give people more bang for their buck, so to speak? I'm not saying this is, I'm not saying this is, we see this narrative of single player games being one and dones and all this kind of.
I hate that term.
I do too. I really do too. But
I think they're trying to find a sweet spot, definitely, because you can't go too long, you can't go too short. You got to find that nice in between that a lot of them fall into.
Nah, I think it's definitely the fact that they're making them longer and longer. I mean, the reality is, Z-Huge actually did an excellent breakdown of this on Reset Era. We all know who he is. He's a big financial analyst in the games industry. He puts out fantastic information every month and every quarter when companies report their financial income, exports, things like that. But basically, the way he explained it is even Sony is feeling the pinch in terms of people don't buy 9 to 10 hour games anymore that don't have any other content. That's just unfortunately, that's generally the reality of it. So how do you combat that if it's not a multiplayer game? You make the game longer. You give it more replayability. You give people more reasons to keep on playing it for a really long time. That's something God of War does in a fantastic fashion, in my opinion, with all the side content and pushing people for the trophies and things like that. So to wrap it all up, the nutshell version of that is yes. And I'll be honest, I'd say it's the standard moving forward. I don't think you'll ever see another 10, 11 hour game from them in terms of single player that doesn't have a multiplayer attached to it. If it's a single player only game, 25 to 30 hours is going to be the minimum.
As long as the game doesn't feel like filler the whole time, I'm 100%.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a bad thing, in my opinion. That's not a bad thing at all. I'm with
because one thing I've come to the conclusion of, my sweet spot for a game is somewhere between 20 and 40 hours is like my sweet spot for a game. Because anything under 20, I sometimes sit there and go, unless it was really good.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily not, because there's some really good short games out there, like Hellblade, Cuphead. All those games are short.
Sure. We're talking about $60 big.
Yeah.
Let me do my best voice here. AAA games. We're talking about AAA.
Don't forget about
titles.
I cannot wait to see how long a 4A title is.
So, fun fact, I just want to address that really quickly because I've seen a lot of people saying it was a typo, and I'm seeing other people saying Microsoft is doing what now? Okay, I'm going to explain that right now. Whether you agree with it or not, my understanding, and this is the understanding of Jez Corden and Randall Thor as well, is that Microsoft defines AAA differently from other companies. Most companies define it like a $50, $60 million budget, maybe a little more in terms of marketing and things like that. Microsoft defines AAA as like a $15 to $20 million budget, or maybe slightly higher than that. And they define quadruple A as like $100 million, $120 million budget, like Halo or God of War, basically. So laugh all you want, but it's a real term, and Microsoft legitimately believes that it wasn't a typo. I've just had to address that really quickly.
So in theory, you're basically saying that a AAA game from Microsoft is equivalent to a middle market title, and a quadruple A game is equivalent to a AAA, essentially.
Roughly, but let's not go crazy here. Let's not go absolutely nuts. But Microsoft would have considered Gears of War 4 and the new God of War to be quadruple A releases. But the new State of Decay 2 from them fits their definition of AAA. Again, I don't want to start a debate about whether they're right or wrong. I'm just laying down the facts.
Okay,
what it is.
if that's what they want to classify it as, that is 100% on them. I will try not to incessantly giggle at it.
I've always found that term AAA to be rather funny. When I heard about that last generation, I was like, oh, so we're comparing quality to battery power? All right, excellent.
I'm not gonna lie, like when I was a casual, people would be like, oh, have you played this AAA blockbuster? I'm like, the what?
Right, because we've never heard that before.
Right. Like it was only until I started getting into social media I started understanding like AAA, and then people are like, "Oh, but there's AA games." I'm like, "The what?" They're like, "Well, they're not."
Is it good?
Games.
Yeah. Is it play good? Oh, it's this game. Well, I don't know.
Is it good, George? Is it good?
Is it good? I don't care what it is. I don't care what the damn label's got. Is it good?
Yeah. Yeah. I completely lost my train of thought now. So regardless of what the thoughts are, Days Gone is wait and see mode. It's too early to judge what we've seen. Well, you can judge what you've seen. It's your freedom as a human being, but I'm not going to make my buying decisions at this point. I'll wait till further down the road to see that. So,
well, can I give my take on it?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no problem. Basically, I'll just say this. It's interesting that they're willing to show Days Gone off this far in advance. I like the footage. There's no denying that there is some jank in terms of the animations and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm still not sold on the characters, but I'm open to it. I'm open to biker culture and things like that. And here's the thing. I haven't seen anything in terms of the hordes that were in the scale of the E3 2016 demo, and that's what I'm interested in. I really want there to be, 500, 600, 700 zombies, freakers, all clambering over each other, ripping through buildings, setting things on fire as they knock over stuff, building, pushing over trailers due to the sheer weight, climbing over each other's dead bodies by the hundreds. If they deliver on that, it's going to be hard to mess the game up as a whole. That's my opinion, because that tech is incredible.
Yeah, and it'll be cool to see that kind of tech in other games as well. That's what I love about seeing tech advances. Like, as soon as I see Kratos' axe, I think it was Nolan Nerdcast on Twitter was like, so someone needs to call Square Enix and lend them the axe throwing technology for the new Avengers game. Which is true, because if they have
those shield animations would be perfect for Captain America. Just those perfect. That's all I could think of was Captain America when playing God of War.
I was actually kind of hoping that we would get it because Sony's so tucked in with Marvel. I was like, give me a Captain America God of War Kratos skin. Come on, yes. Give me a. I want a Captain America. I want to kill the Queen Valkyrie as Captain America.
His body paint is just all Captain America colors.
That would be fantastic. So we're going to talk about my favorite gaming company now, Nintendo. This week, Nintendo released their Nintendo Switch Online and what it's going to be, what it's going to cost, and everything else.
Much to say.
All right, so I guess as an upside, it's $20, so that's good. $20 for Americans, Canadians. God knows how much we're going to have to pay for it.
$28.99.
Oh, it's gonna be something dumb. It's always a random number too.
So stupid.
I remember when they raised Xbox Live just in like my province, it went to like $64.59 for like a couple of weeks. I was like, come on, just round it up. It's like, come on.
Seriously, come on, guys. Come on.
So
there.
Yeah, so Nintendo Switch Online, $20 for the year. Allows you to play your games online. It allows you to use the cloud backup.
I was going to say, how much for online save data? What?
It's gonna have original NES games and like old school retro games. that you're going to be playable. It's going to start with 20, and they said the library is going to build over time. They will not state whether or not those games will cycle out in a similar fashion to Xbox's Game Pass, or you'll always be able to
just have them accessible.
Just have them as playable. So there's no details on that. So it's 20 NES games to start with added online play, cloud saves and backup, Nintendo Switch online smartphone app. What a deal. And special offers and deals for members, which I'm guessing is in similar fashion to like the PS Plus deals and deals with gold.
Yeah.
The cool thing, and I will say this is a cool thing, is they offer a family membership for 12 months, which is basically $15 more. And you can have it on to up to, I think it's like 6 or 7 Switches, I think.
Eight actually. Yep.
8 Switches. So basically you and your buddies all chip in $5. You can get Nintendo Online for all your Switches, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to end up doing in the long run. So that's kind of a nifty option in that aspect. So what's everyone else's thoughts on Nintendo Switches Online before I talk about it?
Here's the thing. The real negative, I'll just get the negative out of the way really fast, is the online app. Just the smartphone app is ridiculous. We all know it's ridiculous. There's no sense in trying to justify it. That kind of setup in 2018 is absolutely absurd. I don't care what Nintendo has to do. If they have to work with Microsoft and get some of their online engineers figuring the net code out, do something and change that up, please. We don't want to be using that. That being said, other than that, I actually think it's a good deal. They're offering a lot of NES games just off the bat, just like this. It's way less than PS Plus or Xbox Live. You know, the family deal, as we just said, is a steal because it's just, a little bit you can all chip in, and then it's really easy to just have online just like that. And on top of that, let's be honest, when Smash comes out, who isn't going to want to have online, or Pokemon or things like that? So it's not like this is being done, oh, by the way, we're taking away your free multiplayer just because. Like, they have a good reason for trying to keep servers maintained. They need cash to do that. So I don't really have a problem with it, bar the smartphone app, which, again, is dumb.
How much is it per year?
$20.
Roughly 20.
That's it? For a year. That's not bad. If it was something like $6 a month or something, let's say, I'd probably be like, yeah, no. That's a lot of money for something a lot of kids will end up wanting. A lot of parents will just end up doing it just because their kids want it. So that's a lot of almost instant cash right there. And I go, oh, that's probably a little sketchy, not gonna lie. That's a little expensive. But for $20, yeah, it's probably something I'd end up getting. For the family package, though, probably not. I don't see myself for a household having 3, 4, 5 Switches, maybe 2 at the most. One for me and one for the kids.
I've got a coworker of mine, and him and all his roommates, all 5 of them, all have Nintendo Switches.
Damn, really?
Yeah, it's a very hostile environment if you're another console.
That's
their primary console.
Those poor Mario Kart races.
So.
Brutal nights, fights going down.
There is one thing though. I just want to correct you on there, Undead, about the whole entire family membership thing, because you like you were basically saying like you can pitch in $5 each, and then like you can use multiple Switches, right, for that account or for that membership. Sadly, that's not how it works. I'm looking at the FAQ right here, and it says, how do I create a family group? And which is the same thing in justification for the actual membership for that. And it says, starting May 15th, 2018, it'll be possible to create a Nintendo account family group via your Nintendo account settings. Up to 8 Nintendo accounts, including a child account, can be linked as a family group. So in other words, let's say if you happen to have kind of similar, like, you know how like on PSN, if you got at least one account that's activated on your system, any other account that you make on the system, it can use PS, now features, right?
Right.
It doesn't work that way on the Switch. If you make a separate account other than yours, you still have to buy a separate individual account or a separate membership for that. Now, as a family group one,
they hit that in the FAQ, huh?
Yeah, they kept the never. Yeah, they tricked you in the wording on that. So in other words, basically, let's say like you and like your wife and maybe a couple of your kids, you know what I mean? Like you have your own separate account or something like that. Then that's when you would make an actual family thing. But it doesn't work like across multiple devices like that.
That is sneaky.
Yeah. So there's the money. There's the money in it right there.
Yep.
That is
now wait a minute, but it also says in the FAQ if I own multiple Nintendo Switch systems, I need a separate membership for each one. And it says no, Nintendo Switch Online can be used on any device by signing in.
Yeah, signing in with the American account that purchased the membership.
So it doesn't share the membership across different accounts. You have to buy a different membership.
Yeah, you buy individually. Yeah, so whoever once your account buys it outright, and if you make another account afterwards, you still have to purchase another membership.
Yeah, like with Xbox Live Gold, with a main account holder can have Xbox Live Gold, but then it can share it, everything, including games and the membership across whatever other accounts on the console.
Leave it to Nintendo to find a way to trick you out of that, and people will be okay with it.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to continue to do more reading on this because something ain't adding up. I'm not saying you're wrong, because you're not, but something's a little funny here.
Yeah, no, it does.
I'm going to dive into this.
It's funny because it's Nintendo, and they always find sneaky ways to flip people over, and people are always just like, "Oh, it's okay, it's Nintendo." They just don't.
No, you can't.
I cannot fathom. Like, I mean, I love Nintendo. They're my childhood, gaming console. I love them to death, and I'll, always game on their systems. But when it comes to doing certain things I don't agree with, and if it is the way that it's going to be, because I agree that there's a little bit of confusion about the membership thing, but if it is to the point where if you make multiple accounts and you have to have an active account for each one of those separately, that is some BS.
Yeah,
that is some BS.
Yeah, it is. It'll be mitigated. It will be slightly mitigated if it turns out like members of the family group who are added to the family account can then be on a different Switch and still use their online. If that's the case, then that mitigates it slightly.
Yeah. Question. If you own a Switch, and if anyone in the that's watching this owns a Switch, if you buy a game digitally on your account, can someone go in on their account and play that game? Are you allowed to play digital
game share?
I don't know if game shares. I think it is, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, because I think you can, but I'm not 100% sure. And with Nintendo, they do. No, you can't. You can't do that. You cannot make a separate account on your Switch and then play the game that you own digitally on the other account.
Where are you seeing that?
In the chat. No.
That doesn't.
Let me look it up. I'll look it up.
That doesn't sound right to me. I'm like 99.9% sure you can. If you just found in the official FAQ right here, all the accounts on the console on the Switch can play any of the downloaded games, whether it's on cartridge or download. Yeah, that didn't sound right to me.
Yeah, that didn't sound right at all. And I remember that was.
I was kind of like, wait a minute. I feel like more people would have been outraged about that.
Yeah, that would have been a big deal, especially for families sharing the console, or the fact that some of those games have local multiplayer. Come on, that would have been a problem.
Well, it's just one of the things you do now for consoles. Is just you game share with whatever is on your home console with other people.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It says right here. It's kind of like the same way too as well with PlayStation, right? It says you can activate one console at a time on your Nintendo account. Your games are only playable on the current active account. Or a console, sorry. And then it says right below that, it says while the console is active for your Nintendo account, everyone on that console can play those games you've purchased.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was going to say, because if they didn't have that would have been even more BS that I was unaware of. But I was going to say, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
So basically, with Nintendo, there's tons of things I love about the Switch. The games are really good. It's portable. There's a lot of different aspects that make it good, but there's just some things that Nintendo's still stuck in 1999 about. I couldn't imagine playing Smash having to use my phone to communicate with people. And I honestly hate the damage control that came out about this. I said that, it was cool that Nintendo responded because originally the NES games that you got with the membership, is that you would get these games that you could play, and that they talked about they'd cycle out, so you'd only have like you could play this game for this month and then it would go away. And they took the criticism from that and fixed that, but they did not fix the means in which you communicate through the Switch, which is an absolute it's a disaster to use your smartphone. Like anyone who's seen that cable setup that you have to do to run that, it is not user friendly. But the problem is people pay for this online, and then I posted about it. I was like, man, that's just not really a practical way. They're like, well, if you don't like it, you can just use Discord. I'm like, yeah, but I'm paying for the online, so it shouldn't be such a hassle to use it.
Yep.
It's just one of those things that if it's bad, it's bad. Just say it's bad, admit it's bad. There's nothing wrong with admitting it's bad.
It's absolutely horrible because me personally, I don't even have a phone. Cell phone or even a landline. I do all my stuff to the internet, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's kind of cavemanish of me, but whatever, it's fine. The thing is, the issue that I have with though, even if I did have a phone, I would despise using that as an actual down that Nintendo app to be able to talk to people on that. And here's the thing, and I know why they did it. Is because if you remember back in 2016, March, I believe it was when the last time when what's his name there, Iwata did that thing when he kind of teased the NX for the first time, but it was during that conference when they made that deal with that mobile company. I forget what they were called. It had a weird name to it, but it had like a interesting name. But anyways, they made a deal with this company, right? That specializes in like mobile and whatever the case may be. So I guarantee you, this mobile thing was a big partnership with that thing. So right. I don't know. And to me, it's I think it's dookie in my opinion. And so far, like as far as the Switch in general goes, man, like everything I've seen well, outside from Nintendo's first party games, which is I come to expect top notch quality. Everything about this console so far is like it's pushing me away from it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I want to see more of this thing. Like the features are lacking, and like the Wii U had features banging out of the gate, but yet that was a console that sold like the way that it did. So they had this thing here, like there's no music in like the eShop, which kind of a bummer. I know that's kind of a little nitpick for me, but I kind of welcome that as an addition because all like since the Wii era, that stuff was amazing to hear that. I don't know. I'm so far. I mean, right now, as far as the first year goes, man, I've been heavily disappointed in this thing. So.
I would only ever buy the Nintendo Switch just to play Breath of the Wild because I'm a huge Zelda fan, but literally that's the only reason. There's no other selling point for me on the Nintendo Switch.
I mean, come on. What about what's the name of that RPG coming up? Project Octopath. Or Octopath Traveler. Excuse me, Octopath Traveler. That looks really good.
Yeah, that game looks awesome.
That looks fantastic. And you're talking to someone who doesn't even generally like turn-based RPGs, but that looks awesome. The pixel art, the artistic work.
No, turn-based RPG. That's a big no.
Dude, I'm not even the biggest fan of them myself, but I'm telling you, that looks good. Have you seen like
Octopath Traveler?
The box art? It looks incredible. And come on, dude, you know Smash is coming. Smash Bros is coming. It's going to be awesome. Pokemon is coming.
Pokemon's going to be huge.
Pokemon, I mean, the combination of Pokemon and Smash cannot be overstated.
Breath of the Wild and maybe the Pokemon RPG. Maybe. Well, probably the Pokemon RPG.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to be buying my Switch relatively soon. I mean, I always buy every Nintendo console, regardless of like the things that I may say about some of the directions that they take. But I mean, as of content right now, like I like the fact that Nintendo has like their own unique library. Like if you go back and look at the Wii, right? The Wii had its own very distinct library. Yeah, people would consider it to be shovelware, but there were tons of hidden gems in that library if you just find them. You know what I mean?
I love
so
right
now the Switch is not doing
that game. Like that game, but the console is it's great.
Yeah, no. I mean, I like the portability. I mean, that's cool. People that want that. Me personally, I would never use a portable. I don't care about that aspect, and I know a lot of people like to use it as their scapegoat. And I hate saying that because I don't want to take it upset anybody.
It's true, though. It's true.
A lot of people use it. Oh, I'm playing Doom on the go, which is better than playing on the PS4. And it's like, bro, but you're still playing the exact same game that I'm playing. You're just playing downgraded visuals and lack of content. That's the thing. It is a trade-off, and I agree with that. But I mean, for people like myself, like that's something that I can care less about. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad. Like, and I knew they were going to go hybrid because they've been hinting at it for years before the actual the codename NX dropped. But me personally, at the end of the day, the only disappointment that I have so far is that I want to see more third-party exclusive content that comes out for this thing. That's what I want to see. That's going to pull me in. Now, it only is in the first year. I usually always wait about at least 2 to 3 years in before I buy the actual next-gen Nintendo console from them. And when that time comes around, I'm usually never disappointed, with the exception of the Wii U.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
Sam
Wii U was
mentioned
kind of. I don't think we'll ever get a repeat of the Wii U situation because
No,
that was just
not this time.
just a perfect dumpster fire of so many things going wrong.
Yeah. But it did, but that's the thing. But it did a lot of things right, though.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, right? And
Yeah,
no
exactly.
one's going to argue with the games lineup it had in its Twilight years. It's
No,
just
no,
it was one of those things where by the Twilight years it didn't matter. Like the damage was done.
I'm gonna need you to put some respect on the Wii U name.
Whoa!
That
Nick
console
is
was
saying-
very underrated. That console was
I feel like we're in the Twilight
Mhm.
Zone. Nicholas is defending the Wii U, but he's
Okay,
a resident
we're-
Nintendo hater.
We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a little back history here. Believe it or not, I was a Nintendo fanboy up till basically 2014.
Secret Nintendo.
I owned I started gaming on PC back in like the DOS era.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
I played PC up until I think the GameCube. And then I got GameCube. And then after the GameCube, I bought a Wii. I bought a PS3 at some point in that process. My PS3 died. I bought a 360. I played a little bit on that, but I still mainly just played my Wii. I bought my Wii U. I played the launch games for that. That sat in a corner for 8 months. I went through like the 7 stages of depression, anger, and betrayal, and I sold it. I sold my Wii U, and I started gaming on Xbox 360, and that was it. I literally the only thing I played on 360 before that was literally like competitive games. I just played COD tournaments and stuff like that. But for like my gaming, all my casual gaming, it was always GameCube, Wii U. I was a huge Nintendo guy. Like I loved, God, what's the game on Wii? Red Steel. I beat that game like 15 times.
I loved the first Red Steel.
Did you guys ever play Metal Gears? The little robots on that planet, that mining planet, the mining colony or whatever. And
Yes.
it's like, oh man, I think I played that game through like 3 or 4 times. I loved it. I absolutely loved that on GameCube.
Here's the thing, like for me, for when it comes to Nintendo, right? Like, despite their inevitable downfalls that they do tend to, or the trend starter things, like their first party games, top notch, never be beat.
Of course, but I don't think that's up for debate.
There's there's
You might have
absolutely
subjective
no
taste
debate
when
on
it comes to genre, but the quality is undeniable.
that. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even a lot of like their lesser known games, like Wii Music, was still actually enjoyable for a short period of time before that game kicked rocks. But the point is like a lot of their games, even like a lot of like their lesser known ones. Like Pikmin, for example, is a good example of a franchise that like I've yet to play another game that plays like that kind of a hybrid strategy type kind of game like Pikmin does yet on console wise. And that to me, that could have been a genre that could have evolutionized and actually been a formal genre in of itself on consoles in order to get RTSs out there, in my humble opinion. But that's just me, of course. But the thing is, what bothers me about Nintendo now is like they're going, not stepping out of the way of the Blue Ocean strategy, but it seems to me like now what they're trying to do is they're trying to redefine it. They're trying to put something back in there, which is why they're getting all like these, you know, like these port games. And look, and I hate saying that, but from a person that owns both Xbox One and PS4, it's kind of difficult for me to be excited for a lot of these games coming to the Switch, like Doom and whatever you want to call it, because I already own them. Sure. You know what I mean? So me personally, it's rare with me that I'll double dip on a game. So to me, at the end of the day, and look, and I'm not taking points away from that from the Switch, because to be quite honest, I don't want to get down to the nitty gritty of things. Nintendo's never ever had access to any of those games, period, ever. So that's a plus with that user base that only ever wants to play, you know, nothing but Nintendo. But I want to see, like, you know, we're already getting their first party seller games, awesome. But what third party exclusive games can you make? What can you do as far as on the back end goes? So far, we got Bayonetta 3 coming out, which is a huge title for me. So the console will be in my hands hopefully next year sometime when that game drops.
Yeah. So Nintendo's doing all right. They're online. I give them credit. The price point is smart. It's
Very smart.
They're not gouging by any means. And there was some people trying to make a huge deal about Nintendo locking cloud saves behind a paywall. Sony does it too. PS4, you can back to a USB drive, though, even if you don't have PS Plus, which is what I do because I don't have PS Plus, so I don't have access to cloud saves.
One more thing, speaking on the cloud saving thing, keep in mind, because a lot of people may mention this, but completely ignore the fact that it was only on the UK site. On the UK Nintendo online section part of their website for the Switch, it says that certain games will not be compatible with the cloud save, and a lot of people took that and ran with that and said that's BS and whatever the case may be. But here's the thing. A lot of people completely ignore the fact like games like Ark Survival Evolved, and I still don't know how the heck that game is going to come out on the Switch for him. Why it's coming on the Switch.
Glorious 10 frames per second.
Exactly. That's a game that runs all server side. So that's a game that easily equates to, not being compatible with backup saves because it doesn't need to.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's not go crazy here. There's enough to complain about as is without taking stuff out of context or anything like that.
I love when gamers do that.
Oh, people don't do that in this community. I don't know what you're talking about. People don't take things out of context.
No.
Oh, that's right. I bet you're right. You're right.
You're right. All right. So, Nintendo, they can do what they do. It's not going to affect my life. I'm not going back. I'm not a battered person. I'm not going back to the people that flipped me over on the Wii U. I'll probably have a Switch by the end of the year.
Excellent.
So we're going to start talking a little bit of E3 kickoffs because we're going to do PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo next week, including the week after. But I want to talk about some of the third-party stuff because there is some pretty interesting third-party rumors and stuff floating around. I want to talk a little bit. We're going to touch on EA first because EA did their financial release and released all their sales numbers, where things are going to land, where our Madden, NHL, and all that usual stuff's going to fall. It's going to fall where it usually lands. But the one interesting thing is apparently Anthem will be landing in spring 2019, according to their financial analytics.
Yeah.
So shockingly enough, Jason Schreier was right with his scoop earlier in the year. About how
why are we ever surprised when Jason Schreier's right? I don't even know why we even doubt that guy anymore, honestly. Like 98% of the time, whatever he says usually comes out as true down the line. So just gonna start believing that guy off the hop now. So what's everyone's thoughts? So I want to get a general feeling because it's no secret that EA has kind of lost its public appeal. I'm not going to say lost its public appeal. They're still selling games and everything else, but their credibility to put out games has kind of taken a hit between Star Wars Battlefront 2, the restrictions on loot boxes that are happening in Europe and everywhere else, and EA coming out and saying they're doubling down on loot boxes no matter what the legal proceedings may incur. So what's everyone's thoughts with Anthem? Do you think this is going to be a loot box riddled mess? Do you think EA learned with Star Wars Battlefront that they've got to balance the microtransactions? Where do you think this game's going to fall?
I think it'll have microtransactions, but I think they'll be cosmetic.
Yes, so I was thinking that too.
Like, come on, those suits, I think they call them the Javelin suits, they're screaming for customization and emblems.
They could probably
stuff like that.
Do it like Warframe. How Warframe has their biggest characters or their Warframes, yeah. Their Warframes, you can either buy them or like play a lot of the game to earn other frames to play, which are basically different classes. I can kind of see how Anthem may work in sort of that respect. So I can see them also locking very high-end, powerful suits behind a paywall to release them earlier at a certain level.
Nah, they're not gonna make that same mistake twice. They learned a valuable lesson, and to be fair, and this may sound a little bit crude of me, but I'm glad that what EA did with Battlefront 2 definitely happened. Not saying in the negative term, I'm saying in the sense that it impacted a lot of different devs. Like a lot of devs were shaking about the whole entire aspect. Like you even had Warner Brothers take out the microtransaction aspect out of Shadows of War. Sony did a lot of things too as well behind the scenes to get rid of a lot of loot boxes out of their games too as well. Like it was crazy. Like it did a huge thing. So in a way, I'm kind of blessed that it kind of happened. I know that, again, I know that sounds very negative, but if it didn't happen, and then we, like a lot of these games, like Anthem would have came out and it would have definitely been chock full of like overpowered stuff that you had to pay for.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? It happened, so there's no sense in complaining about whether it shouldn't have happened or things got out of control. Let devs learn from it.
Yeah,
Let
and if there's ever a company
here's the thing, like I understand budgets have raised. I understand it's more and more difficult to make games. But again, don't imbalance things. Don't let people pay to become more powerful than others. That's a simple concept. It really is.
And that's the thing. Like we do know that EA also chinches out too as well when it comes to a lot of the games that they do to make. Like Jim Sterling already proved that in one of his videos when he was ranting about the subject, that EA tends to lower their budget on each iteration of Madden and Battlefield games and whatever the case may be, so that way they can not only turn a fat profit off their games, but on top of that too as well with their microtransactions kicking into overdrive. I mean, look at Activision. Activision made like like $4 billion on microtransactions last year in 2017. Like, there's obviously a place there, and that's why a lot of devs gravitate to that market and why they want that feature to be in there. But to us as consumers, we look at it, it's like, hey, we understand that you're a business, but show us a little bit of respect too as well, and we'll show respect back. And EA didn't, especially with the Star Wars name like that, dude. Yeah, I'm not surprised Disney be like, hold on, whoa, what are you guys doing here? We're not going to allow you to do this on our kind of name. Get the F out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm glad that it happened because it definitely changed a lot of perspective on a lot of things. So now when Anthem coming out, I think they're going to actually just be cosmetics. They might not even put loot boxes in there at all. Not at launch.
I don't even think there'll be loot boxes. I think what they'll do is I agree with Rage in the aspect that they'll probably do something in similar to how Warframe manages how you get the Warframes. Like you do specific missions to earn specific parts, and I think they'll make that grindy, or you can just buy the suit. That's how Warframe does it. But keeping in mind that Warframe's a free-to-play game, so there's a little bit of wiggle room to be doing things
a little bit different.
A little bit different in that aspect. But if they do something similar to that, where you can earn everything and the grind isn't ridiculous, I'm okay with those kind of things. Like if it's like, oh, if you want this really cool piece of armor, you have to do these 3 missions 2 or 3 times. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. But if it's like you have to grind this mission to get a leg, like a shin guard, and then you've got to grind that mission for like 20 times to get a shin guard, and then you gotta go do this mission to go get the other shin guard, and then it ends up being like a 40-50 hour grind to get this suit.
Yeah, don't turn it into an MMO. MMO grinds is kind of like what is right now.
Yeah, see here, this is where I kind of have to object. I kind of like that. I missed it, but that's coming from someone that played a lot of original vanilla, like WoW content. I played the crap out of World of Warcraft when it first came out back, and I really liked how I grinded for some of the best items in the game. And when I got that, I was like, I earned this. And walking around, you're strutting around, like, guys.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, though, Rage. I agree with you 100% on that, Rage. I agree with you 100%. Like, I miss that feeling.
I do have to agree with you, though, as well, though, because that can also be a very bad thing for a lot of casual players, for hardcore guys like me.
Yep.
It's good. For a lot of, like, 95% of the other player base, it's not that good. People aren't going to want that.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many people that play Destiny, right? Like, play at there's a lot of people that play Destiny at the casual level that probably never saw the light of day or stepped foot.
That was the most flopped, failed opportunity that is still somehow in existence. And like, I had no idea what the game was in the first place, and I played the first game, and that was the only reason why I put like 1,800 hours on the game, because I never knew what it was. Bought it, put it in. Okay, let's find out what it is, because I don't know what this game is. I was like, oh my god.
For 6 months
for this game.
First 6 months of Destiny was all about that loot cave.
Oh, it was. I used the crap out of it. It was great.
Everybody did.
That's all rated, and it was so much fun. But like, It's not.
But I mean, going back to Anthem though, I really like. I don't want to see them do something like that. No, don't get me wrong. And like I said with Rage, I agree with them earlier about the whole aspect of like making it kind of like that grind reward factor. I don't mind games like that. I mean, hell, I play Dynasty Warriors for a living, and that game is grindy as all heck, right? So with that said, that's not an issue for me. But again, going back to the whole entire casual side, a lot of gamers will never do that. They'll never sit there and spend like 14, 15 hours like per day, grinding out for a specific, shield guard or a specific thing.
I spent 4 days in World of Warcraft grinding for gold to buy my first mount that only cost 40 gold.
Now, I will say this. So I think what they should do as far as the loot system goes is do it the way Borderlands did it. Make it random. Or do it like old school dungeon crawler wise, man, where it's completely random.
I wouldn't like that. I'd prefer like more specialized quests to get specific parts or different upgrade missions to get better suits.
You can still leave that in there. Think of it like kind of like almost like the way Guild Wars did it, right? You have like you get like certain tokens or certain faction numbers or whatever the case may be.
Of course,
rewards. And you get the legendary items and whatever you want to call it. Those are like the best top tier in the game, right? But at the same time.
Anyone who thinks there won't be like a gear system and loot and lots of grindy style missions for people who want them, anyone who thinks that won't be there is fooling themselves.
Yeah, this is BioWare we're talking about.
It's perfect. But at the same time, it's BioWare, and BioWare has changed over the years, but Casey Hudson's still there, and I trust him, and I really hope there's a strong, compelling narrative as a result of that. I really want a strong single player that we can fall back on here and enjoy.
It's so tempting some days because the BioWare Edmonton studio is only 3 hours north from me, and like
seriously, honestly,
drive there and be like, guys, can you tell me anything? Can I just see Anthem? I know you're working on and whatever other new Dragon Age game you're working on.
In my personal opinion, I think what BioWare should have did was, or what EA should have let BioWare do is they should have let the whole entire team that's working on Anthem now. Like they're the ones that should have made Mass Effect Andromeda, in my opinion, not the other team.
They should, but I don't want to get started on that because that's such a giraffe trail. It's not even funny.
It is. But
neither here nor there. But they should have, yes.
But what I'm saying is, I think they should have done that because that way. Because I mean, honestly, Mass Effect was a huge stable last generation especially for BioWare. And a lot of fans were eagerly anticipating for what next gen Mass Effect was going to be. And I believe me, I was on that train too as well. Now, while I do like the way Andromeda turned out for my own reasonings, I can understand the incredible amount of hate for it. So that's why I was like, man, you know what? I really wish Anthem would have been something like after Andromeda. But seeing how long it took for Andromeda to come out, I guess in a way it kind of does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully Anthem's not a train wreck. I'm hopeful for it. I'm kind of interested. I like BioWare personally. I think they've done some really
we have already seen looks phenomenal, and if it pans out that way, we're good.
Let me ask this, guys, and then we'll move on from Anthem because there's other third-party stuff to get to. But let me ask this: Anthem is in this weird place where Microsoft has the exclusive marketing rights, sort of like what Sony does for Destiny, but it's also at EA, and there's going to be EA Play. So what's going to happen this year? Are we going to see another teaser at EA, and then it's going to be like, for more, go watch the Microsoft presser? Or are Microsoft going to, just not have it in their conference, and they're going to let EA show it, but then they'll still have the marketing rights?
I think EA.
How do you think that'll work?
I think EA Play is going to that's going to be a big focus for EA Play this year. They're going to show their Madden, their NHL, blah, 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 the typical cliche stuff that we come to know and expect from EA. But I do think Anthem is going to be a big push for them. Because I think like right now, like this is going to be like their biggest game coming out, and they want to prove to people that EA can put learn their mistakes from what they did with Star Wars and not mess up with what they're going to do with Anthem, because they got a lot riding on this, right? So does BioWare, and that's why I think BioWare is kind of like semi shaking in their boots right now with this game. Mm-hmm. I think that should be a big focus for EA Play, but also like maybe show like whoever has the marketing deal, show some exclusive footage and content coming out for that game, for whatever presser has the exclusive deal for it. So.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna see at EA. It would make sense that they'd show off all of it, but if Microsoft's got marketing for it, it kind of puts it in a weird place. I don't know, because if with Microsoft everything's so up in the air, we don't know what the heck's going on with their show. So I'm not gonna say either one way or another, but it would be very bizarre with how little how little we've seen of Anthem and everything else, and how little outside of this BioWare game God, I'm losing my train of thought so bad on this. Pardon me, I got like 2 hours of sleep today. With how little we've seen from this and how little EA is working on outside their usual sports titles, for them to do the EA Play conference, I think there will be a large amount of Anthem shown on EA's stage. And maybe we'll see like a launch trailer and date maybe on the Microsoft stage, perhaps. That might end up happening. But
yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy. I'll be really surprised and happily surprised if they do that. We're gonna move on to Squeenix now. This is
this is interesting though, because Square Enix, I gotta set the stage here, so to speak, quite literally. Square Enix hasn't had a conference in the last 3 years.
Yep.
So this is actually kind of a really big deal, because Square Enix not having a conference at E3 was one of the big things that made people think, oh, are companies backing away from E3? So what's going on here? It is interesting.
Maybe they just finally have something worthy to show.
The Avengers. Yes, I co-sign that statement.
Yeah, Crystal Dynamics game is probably going to be a big thing they want to show off at their own press conference, I think, this year.
Yep, for sure.
Which definitely makes sense. I don't think, or I'm not expecting to see anything on the new redesign for Final Fantasy VII.
No. And the Final Fantasy VII remake, if that game even still exists, and I don't want to get that, but if that game still exists, it's a next-gen title at this point. It is. That's all there is to it, and I'm not actually even sure it's going to come out. I hope it does, but the stories we're hearing aren't exactly fantastic there. We're not going to see it this year, or if we do, it'll be another CGI teaser or a cutscene teaser, and that would be it. I think Avengers is the spotlight for sure, with maybe even a little Shadow of the Tomb Raider, though I think Shadow of the Tomb Raider will probably be shown more at Microsoft's. I think Microsoft probably gets the gameplay demo there, and then at Square Enix, it's like, hey, there's a trailer because we are the ones who are still making it. But Avengers is the focus.
3. Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be another big one.
Kingdom Hearts 3,
I think that game is definitely going to finally get an actual official release date, and I think it's going to be fall this year.
You think they'll risk putting it out this fall with Red Dead coming out and Bethesda having something looming on the horizon? You really think they'll risk it?
I would not be surprised, because look at what they're doing with Shadows of the Tomb Raider, launching like a week after Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is on 3 platforms. Spider-Man's only on 1.
That is true. That is true. As far as Red Dead goes, that could be
the Xbox marketing, so it's going to be something where even if more PlayStation audience doesn't pick it up, the PC/Xbox audience will go pick up Tomb Raider.
Well, actually, maybe not fall, but I could see them maybe like coming out with Kingdom Hearts 3 probably maybe in December, like early December, because that was still be like a month and a half.
They put out Final Fantasy 15 really late November, so that adds up.
Yeah, so I'm saying, because that's still a month after Red Dead, and a lot of that hype factor will definitely be died down. So
a thing too with Kingdom Hearts 3 is that hype train, when that thing actually gets a date.
I'm going to be off the air.
You can say that all you want, but the hype train is going to be ridiculous. I agree.
Rage just doesn't like good games. It's fine.
I never played the other one, so I can't say anything, honestly. And this one doesn't really appeal to me too much.
Oh, so Rage, you're kind of like me, sir.
Sorry.
Like me, I get knacked for playing a lot of crappy games, so a lot of people think that every good game I'll never touch. But I'm like, go look at my PSN profile, dude. You'll be fine. Settle that.
No, we've been teasing Rage for like the past month because we were all talking about Spider-Man the one day, and he's like, Spider-Man? Who wants Spider-Man? And we're like, pardon?
Yo, I'm sorry, what was that? What?
I don't know. This is someone else.
Yeah. All right. For Square Enix, Kingdom Hearts 3 needs a date. I've been dreaming about this game since PS2 generation, I guess.
I was actually just talking with one of my buddies who lives back in BC, and he's like, man, he's so excited for Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like, it hasn't come out with a new game since we've been in grade 10. I'm like, damn, dude, seriously? We're that old? Ow. It's a long time.
Keep in mind that right now Squeenix does have Kingdom Hearts 3 is set for a release date this year. They haven't said it's delayed yet. So technically,
well, at this point, every other game is trash except for Atomic Heart because that
just
one
wait till E3. Wait till E3.
Mm.
They'll show the trailer at the end. Everybody was like, "Yeah, release date, coming 2019." Just to tease you guys, right?
Okay, so to give you an idea how long this game's been in development, it started development before, but it was originally teased at E3 2013 on the Sony stage.
2000 what?
2013.
Damn, what?
That's almost as long as Last Guardian.
God of War took 5 years.
Yeah. Well, unless I could throw the Keyblade.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, Square Enix is known for their development cycles, though. They have a tendency to announce things way too early. Like Kingdom Hearts 3 shouldn't have even been announced.
But why did it take so long? I mean,
they have a tendency, from what I've seen, Sam will correct me if I'm wrong. I know he will. They have a tendency to dev cycle pretty hard there. They end up bringing people on, and then they bring in other people to replace those people, and it changes the game.
Yeah, they do.
And
because different project leads have different ideas for how a game goes. So the problem is, if they bring in a new project lead to finish a game up, they end up throwing out old work and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I think part of Kingdom Hearts 3's problem too is Disney keeps buying stuff and adding it in.
That's true. That's true. They got them to deal with, and there could be like a certain small business deals with certain characters that they go, no, we don't want that with that certain character, but we want it, sort of thing. And
well, it just kind of makes me giggle. It's like, I'm waiting for like the Deadpool crossover or something or anything like that. If I need
crossover trailers, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
that would make the game so much better. I'd probably buy the game just for the Deadpool character, but then I'd be like, those poor children. I hope he held back on his language.
Think of the children.
I hope there's not any gore in that game. Oh boy.
Yeah, Square Enix, they've got Tomb Raider, Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm interested in Final Fantasy 7. I want to know if that's as much of a train wreck as they say that everyone says it is. But keeping in mind the game's episodic, so they could technically drop an episode.
Maybe that's what they're doing, is ramping up. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes ready, and then we'll be working on season 2 or whatever.
I hope they don't do seasons. The game isn't that long.
I think there's also going to be an announcement for the remastered version of the original Last Gen Nier, and I pray for that to happen.
That'd be cool. I've never actually played it, so that would actually I'd be with that.
That game was a beautiful game, graphically wise. Yeah, sure, people called it a PS2 graphic looking game, but F that noise. That game was incredible.
I have a game I wouldn't mind touching base on quickly if we have some time.
Of course,
something that everybody will be very anticipated about, but Ubisoft, Beyond Good and Evil 2. Do you guys think we'll see more about that from this?
That's Ubisoft. So that's not Square Enix.
No, not Square Enix.
Moving on to Ubisoft in that case, I think it's definitely possible. I think we could see something from them.
You see it this year, maybe?
No, not released. No.
The scope of that game that they want to accomplish with that game.
It's going to take a couple of years.
That game is going to be lucky to release in 2019. I think 2020 is more likely, like March 2020.
I'm calling next gen right now.
Cross-gen for sure. Like not even, not even up for debate. It'll be cross-gen.
Yeah, I think it definitely will be cross-gen because everything I've seen so far for Beyond Good and Evil 2, I cannot wait.
That's actually an interesting thing. The whole cross-gen, we gotta start seeing that at some point soon because if it's getting close to the end of a generation, like say 3-4 years out, next year or two, we gotta hear something about the next consoles and about that if there's ever going to be cross-gen kind of games too, because the devs got to worry about that too, don't they?
I personally don't know what to believe when it comes to people talking about next gen. It's all over the place. I mean, I've heard from one person tell me that next gen's a few years away. Then I heard another person saying that, I heard that the dev kits have gone out. Then I heard another person say all this crap. And it's like, look, you know what, man? I'm just gonna wait for the official announcement from Sony and Microsoft. That's it. That's the final straw on the nail, right? So
all right.
I'm gonna wait.
This is such a ridiculous giraffe trail. It's not even funny, but let me just go ahead and address this right now. Dev kit can mean a computer that roughly has the specs of what the next-gen console will be, because they want their companies to have an idea of, hey, have an engineer or two play around with this, because this is probably what it'll end up somewhat theoretically resembling in power and CPU levels. That doesn't mean anything. Every respectable analyst in the business is saying 2020. For next-gen console releases from Microsoft and Sony.
Let's also base it here. I have no problem putting this guy on roast. The only person that sourced saying that PS5 was coming 2019 or was going to be at this E3 was Marcus Sellers. And let's not even get into that man's track record.
No,
that guy's got a terrible track record. I mean, so does Pachter. Michael Pachter's got a horrible track record too as well.
Well, now here's the thing about Michael Pachter. He has this weird thing when it comes to his guesses. His actual, financial knowledge of the industry of what's going on is superb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give credit where credit.
Hey, remember, he predicted Labo. He predicted Labo, so
he did. He predicted Labo. Right. No one else did.
He literally in an interview he said the Nintendo fans were so rabid that they would literally buy cardboard if Nintendo sold it to them, and here we are.
Nintendo Labo, ladies and gentlemen, something new.
I remember when Pachter predicted that, this last generation was going to be like the last generation. There was going to be no more consoles.
Come on. No.
Okay, cool, Pachter. Nice seeing you, buddy.
Sure.
I think he does that though. I think personally he does that not because he's just. He knows what he's talking about.
Don't forget about me, guys.
Just to get media attention. And it works every time he does. Every time he says something ludicrous like that, everybody catches on to it, makes videos about it, and that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah. I was going to say, some analysts like stirring pot.
They love that publicity. Yeah, they want that publicity.
I was going to say, tons of guys, the thing is when you realize that media is no different than content creators in the fact that it's all about interacting and getting people to cite your information and everything else. And some people do not have a problem with twisting things, and it's still factual, but it's a alternative fact and using it as propulsion to get their point across. Either way, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we'll get back to Ubisoft here. Ubisoft, one thing I want to see from Ubisoft, because they teased it, but we have not heard a single thing about it, is Skull and Bones.
Yeah, that would be
everybody's forgot about that game.
That's releasing this fall. That's another title that I'm going to say there's no way it actually releases this year. That's next.
It doesn't. Oh no, I Ubisoft hype cycle.
I guarantee it's going to drop this year because they've already released gameplay for it early on. I think it right after E3. Back in
no, when will it release? I'm saying when is it going to release? Not that I know they've released gameplay, but when would it come out?
Probably, I would say. Truthfully, well, given the fact now that Red Dead has a sturdy release date now, I think they probably were going to release it probably middle of September, probably. But then I think they just say, you know what, Red Dead got a release date. Screw it, we're waiting. We're going to delay until next year. So Splinter Cell though. Splinter Cell is another one
Splinter Cell. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Now, Splinter Cell. I've been wanting another Splinter Cell game since Conviction.
I don't know where about the good one too.
Everyone wants Splinter Cell.
Now, don't get me wrong. Blacklist was not a terrible game. It just what turned me off from it though was not hearing Jeremy Ironside as Sam Fisher, because he is Sam Fisher.
Michael Ironside, you mean?
My bad. Jeremy Ironside. I get the scar mixed up all the time. But anyways, Michael Ironside. Sorry, my bad. I apologize there. Splinter Cell for me is a huge franchise for me. I've been a fan of that since the originals. The 3 trilogy.
Of course.
1 to Pandora's Chaos.
Me too.
Stellar. Conviction I loved. Blacklist was kind of hit or miss for a lot of people. It was kind of hit or miss with me. So I've been wanting a new Splinter Cell game for a long time. My only gripe that I have, and this is not just with Splinter Cell, but this is with modern Ubisoft, is they streamline their stuff way too much. Like Rainbow Six doesn't feel like Rainbow Six to me. Ghost Recon doesn't feel like Ghost Recon anymore. And I'm fearful that Splinter Cell is going to be more casualized to the point where it's going to completely lose what makes Splinter Cell so good. And it's a real shame to do Tom Clancy like that.
Yeah, it really is a real shame to do Tom Clancy like that. The second one in the series, Pandora.
Pandora's Tomorrow?
Yeah, that was to me one of the hardest ones, but one of my all-time favorite ones of any Splinter Cell game ever.
Yeah, that game was rough.
It was rough, but it was felt so like rewarding and achievable too, because it's difficult, but it's just hard enough to the point where you can do it, but you just got to keep trying to get there.
Until you get it.
Then you get there.
You mess up once, And that's the thing about like Chaos there. Like even Chaos there to this very given day. Go look at how that game looks now. It still holds up to this day.
Well, I was just thinking too, like how amazing would it look with modern day graphics on like today's kind of level. Man. It would look incredible. The story detail, like the graphical environment would just be outstanding.
Yeah, so Splinter Cell is a big IP from them that I'm really, really hoping for. That's going to be revealed this year, and what direction they're going to go with.
They know it sells.
It's going to be a day one buy because I'll play anything Splinter Cell or Tom Clancy. I'll play. I won't play Wildlands though because I played the beta for that, and I was just like, no, this is not Ghost Recon.
See, the thing for me, I didn't play Ghost Recon previous to Wildlands. I enjoyed Wildlands as a co-op game because we just drove around, blew stuff up, and it was a good time with my buddy. So I don't have the history with the franchise to miss what the franchise was.
Yeah.
But what I don't want with Splinter Cell, because I'm a really hardcore stealth guy. I'm a stealth nerd, like like Splinter Cell, Hitman,
Thief, old school Thief, not that modern one that came out back in the generation.
The PC ones, the PC ones.
Thief,
those kind of games I really love. But my worry is that Ubisoft has found so much success with their open world titles. I don't want an open world Splinter Cell
Division.
Game. Oh my god. If they want to make it less linear, do it in a hub world style like Rise of the Tomb Raider. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, shout out the Tomb Raider.
Well, so here's the thing, right? I don't think they'd be that dumb. Honestly, just to put it out there bluntly, Ubisoft has been doing a really good job over the last couple of years in terms of designing their games and doing how do we keep people engaged? How do we draw people back? I definitely think it'll be more open than some previous games, but in terms of, hey, here's your objective, here's this big area that is your mission, there's multiple paths, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out what
I'd be okay with that. Like, I don't know how many people here played Hitman Season 1. I will never shut up about this game.
Exactly. That's a perfect model. That's a perfect model. Not as the games as a service episodes, but the design, the mission.
Yeah, like the size and the scale of Hitman, the levels, it was huge. Like some of the levels were huge and complex, and there was multiple objectives and everything else. If you raised one alarm, then the whole map knew about you and things like that. But like that kind of style world would work for Splinter Cell. And I really like of all the stuff Ubisoft is bringing to E3, possibly if they bring Splinter Cell, literally anything after that is just dessert for me, because if they drop Splinter Cell and if they drop it with a date,
pre-order.
Yes,
pre-order.
Yeah, instant. Collector's edition. What's wrong with the stacks?
I've got the which collector's edition was it? I've got the Splinter Cell collector's edition. It came with like a little drone. I still got that.
I think that was Blacklist, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Blacklist.
And that's when it came with the night
Conviction came with that statue. Conviction came with that little, I think it was a statue or something. I think it was a Sam Fisher.
I can't remember.
I love that game though. Conviction was so good.
Oh, it was.
Everybody hated it though. Everybody hated Conviction though.
What?
Yeah, every time when I remember specifically going on the official Conviction website at the time when that game released, everybody hated that game so much because of the way how drastically different it was. And I was like, well, duh, it makes sense to the story narrative. He doesn't work with third echelon, get over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If Ubisoft can pull off a Splinter Cell game, they could release 5 garbage titles afterwards. I'll still be playing Splinter Cell.
Agreed.
Dude.
Yeah, and they take that from Hitman.
Nope.
I'm done.
Sam?
No. I'm just saying, like, I just have to say this. Can you imagine how the crowd is going to go nuts when the screen goes dark and then those 3 green lights come on the screen? That's all they have to do.
Yeah, dude. If I hear that, if that's how Ubisoft opens up their press conference there, man, I'm going to be.
You will literally.
I'm going to feel something in my pants. Yeah, I'm gonna be so excited, man, because like, dude, clearly, I mean, with the supposed leaks from Walmart and Amazon like several months ago, and plus Michael Ironside making
keep
the
seeing
appearance.
Splinter Cell.
Yeah, so there's something for Splinter Cell, and even Yves Guillemot came out and basically stated that don't worry, there's something coming from Splinter Cell, and it's like, don't mess this up, please don't mess this up.
We all know it wasn't that stupid crossover in Wildlands. That's not the stupid teasing.
No, not that. No. He said on a bigger scale. So
something else.
Please, Ubisoft, look, I love you guys, man. I mean, I've known you for so long, dude, but just please stop streamlining your Tom Clancy games, man. God, I hate it. Oh, it drives me nuts. I'm sure Wildlands is good, and I know Rainbow Six Siege has a huge fan base behind it, but Rainbow Six Siege try to be like a modern SWAT that just no, man, no, that's not Rainbow Six. Anyways, I apologize.
No worries. I think we can all agree that with a Splinter Cell reveal, if this game is done properly, Michael Ironside obviously coming back to voice Sam Fisher.
Yes,
Ubisoft has a chance to steal the show. They have a chance.
Yes.
Iconic voice.
That was a huge throw off for me with Blacklist. That was a huge turn off for me. He just looked weird. You went from like, yo, you downgraded in age? All right, cool. All right.
Oh no, I like the grizzled old veteran.
Yeah, man. Like he was raw. He was like old in conviction, but you felt that, you know what I mean? Like Ironside is Sam Fisher. There's no two ways around it. You cannot replace that voice.
He said that himself on Inside Xbox.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, that man, I said this in chat, that man has a voice like no other. I could literally listen to him talk for an hour. Just
same here.
Old war stories.
Yep,
He's awesome.
Here. Same here. And the funny thing is that at the same time, if I were to hear that in audio format, I would think that it's Sam Fisher reading to me.
Actually, it's a fun fact. There was actually, when I was in history class, when I was in high school, there was a documentary we watched. It was on, I think it was Norse mythology. I think that's what it was. And it was narrated by Michael Ironside. And it was like the most intense documentary I've ever seen in my life.
You got that voice, man. I love his voice so much, man. But anyways.
Yeah. So Ubisoft, they've got some stuff in their pocket. We're going to see Division 2 and other stuff.
Sure. They've already confirmed Division 2. They've said that For Honor is going to be there in some form, which is interesting. But hey,
probably or another season announcement for that game.
New expansion, maybe even like a new faction altogether.
So here's something for you guys. What if Ubisoft and Nintendo make another IP together again?
That'd be cool.
I mean, they have encouragement too, right? Mario Kingdom Battle Rabbids was sold really well. Great critical reception.
Yep.
We need a Forza Mario Kart crossover.
A Forza Mario? What in the... Oh, man.
Just imagine the possibilities.
Forza Horizon 4 Mario Kart Edition.
There you go. Just put him on the Hot Wheels tracks. We got the level design right there.
Oh, wow.
You can do it. You can make Rainbow Road up in the sky there.
Also, I wouldn't mind seeing another IP though from Ubisoft. I mean, I think Watch Dogs 3 is definitely going to be there. They've been hinting at that now for a while.
I didn't like the second one very much. I love the first one,
but I didn't care for the series at all. Period. I didn't care for it even with the first one. Not because of what they did as far as their bullshotting a way out of it, but I didn't really care for the concept of it. I guess I'm just weird that way.
I was in this weird position with Watch Dogs. The first one, I was obviously let down because they BS'd their way through that one.
They did.
Very disappointing. But Watch Dogs 2, I really enjoyed the gameplay, but the super like edgy, memey humor they tried to convey, I was like, God, I feel like I literally cringed my way through it. The only thing I cringed through harder was Life is Strange.
Yeah. Oh, what? What? No, bro. Tell me you did not just say that.
But he did, and he will.
Oh man, I love Life is Strange, bro.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said some of it's really cringy. The actual story
that was
really
charm,
well done.
That was the cringy.
Man, careful, man. Them be fighting words, apparently.
Yeah, it's hella good. It's hella good.
The thing is, a lot of people actually didn't really care for Life is Strange, which kind of shocked me a little bit because I thought that game was absolutely incredible. But like I said, I mean, I can understand. Like, I can agree. There is some cringy moments in that game, but I looked at that as more of like a charm factor between the characters, which kind of makes sense because they're youth.
Yeah.
So that kind of made sense. But I mean, to us as adults, it's like, ugh, what? Okay, moving on.
Yeah. So we covered Squeenix, we covered Ubisoft, we covered EA.
Bethesda.
Yeah, I guess they've been teasing.
Yeah, we can wrap up on Bethesda, right?
Yeah, let's wrap up on Bethesda.
So,
Rage 2 has been confirmed.
Rage 2.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
I was never
Jesus,
expecting that.
every day.
I was not expecting
Guys.
that at all. When I saw that Walmart leak and I was like, Rage 2, who the F asked for this?
Actually,
Is it the first
surprisingly
game?
enough, ever since that leak came out, there's a bunch of people on my timeline going, "I actually really enjoyed Rage." I'm like, "Where have you?"
Now you come out and say that, right?
Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. I need to say this right now. Rage is one of those games where people like who played it were like, "Yeah, this is a blast." You know, Mad Max style. This is awesome. And then critics like,
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
And then everyone was like, "Oh, it's not okay to like this game. Never mind." That's what happened here. And now people are coming out of the woodwork because it's like, okay, it's cool to be hyped for this again because Bethesda's doubling down on it. Which, look, I'll be honest, I didn't expect. Okay, no one expected this. It came out of left field. But it's obvious it's happening. Looks like we're actually going to get some sort of teaser announcement on May 14th. That's what it looks like based on all these images.
Teeth, right?
So,
So
here's the question. Here's the question about Rage 2, right? Is id Software developing it, or is it a different studio?
Good question.
Was it ID Software that did?
id Software's
Rage
making
originally?
id Software.
Yeah, they were the ones who made it. Yep.
Yep, they're definitely making it. That's why it's coming back.
So here's the question then. In that case, and I agree, I think it's probably id, which I'm down for. That's awesome. But here's the question then. What does that mean for Doom? Because people have been asking for a sequel to Doom, and everyone, including myself, kind of assumed a Doom 2 announcement was coming this year. So is Doom going to be on ice until next gen after that game was phenomenal?
No, I think both. I think actually both. Because I mean, id Software is a pretty big team. So I mean, I'm sure they could split up into two groups if they wanted to, like they did before in the past.
Can we also? I'm gonna say this too, because Rage 2 was kept under such wraps. We don't know how long they've been working on this either.
Yeah, that might not even be a game.
That's also very true. They could have been working on this for a long time, having a small part of the studio working on it.
Because I remember when Doom 1 first came out, I remember when I was watching that documentary, I forget what channel it was on YouTube, but I was watching that, and they said like as soon as the game came out, they immediately went to work on the sequel. Or, well, they're working on something related to Doom, they said, but we weren't sure at the time. We were just speculating as DLC. So maybe it could have been like they were working on the sequel for it, maybe. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Interestingly enough, ID Software currently employs, last updated in 2012, 294 people.
Yeah, so they have more than
a big team.
All right, yeah. Assuming that a small portion of the team was working on this for a long time, they definitely could have been doing this, and then they're probably still working on Doom 2 as well.
Yeah.
So let me ask my final question then. My final question, because it's obvious that we're going to see more on May 14th, so it does us no good to speculate about the game, because we're going to see more in just a couple of days. But let me ask this. If Doom 2 is in active development, are we going to see Doom 2 revealed this year as well? Or do they hold that in their pocket until 2019? I
think Doom is going to be teased, but it's not going to be out until 2019. I think Rage is going to be something that might be released later on this year, maybe. And I think Doom is going to be a 2019, or both, maybe both next year.
Maybe
early and Doom.
Maybe they drop. Maybe they drop.
One person at a time. One at a time. One at a time.
Maybe they drop Rage, and then. Does everyone remember how they teased Wolfenstein: The New Colossus before they actually announced it, where there was like a basically a folder with the name, and they were like, "Oh no, we're gonna just scroll past that," and people were like, "Oh, so that's the new Wolfenstein game." I think they'll do something similar with Doom.
Yeah,
I think they might tease it, but I don't think, because Bethesda, as a general rule of thumb, likes to keep it under a year. So if they announce it at E3 this year, it's coming out before the next E3. They don't, as a general rule of thumb, do not like to see things multiple times at E3. I think there are exceptions to that rule, but very, very few in that regard.
Yeah, any game that they show is either at their E3 conference either comes out that year, like in 2017 when it was like, oh, by the way, here's Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, and here's Evil Within 2. and here's Dishonored: Death of the Outsider. Ciao, which was awesome.
Yeah, basically.
But at the same time, or they might do the thing like Prey or Dishonored 2, where it's like, okay, it'll be closer to a full year before it comes out, or like 16 months or something like that. So I think if Rage 2 is, announced, as we all know it's going to be, that's probably a May or April release next year. So you guys are saying that you think Doom 2 will be teased, but they're not going to do like a blowout like they did in 2015. It'll be like a quick 30-second teaser or something like that.
I think they're going to announce whatever. They're going to announce Rage 2 on the 14th, but it'll come with a release date. Like, hey, it's coming out in 2-3 months' time. And then they'll show Doom 2 at E3.
Whoa. Spicy.
I think that's actually
very spicy.
That's actually a good theory, actually.
I like it. No, I like it. The thing is, it's spicy, but with Bethesda, that's believable. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
I can believe
they're not going to run out of good quality content games out of the portfolio. They got so many to choose from. Like, we still haven't heard much of Starfield yet either, have we?
I think the new Elder Scrolls game is not gonna it's gonna be teased.
Like, that's one of them.
That's going to be a 2020 game, though. It's going to be a first year on the new console, kind of like what Oblivion was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities, but I definitely think they're gonna surprise everyone. Like, you know what, Walmart Canada, you assholes, you can't do that to us. You put this
I'll
on
say
us.
this.
Fine.
I'll say this. This is the last thing I'm going to say about Rage. Since people are now coming out of the woodwork asking what's Rage, I just checked. It is backwards compatible.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep. It is.
I will have to give it another shot.
Oh, one more thing I'll say about Elder Scrolls. If whatever direction they go, or whenever the next Elder Scrolls game is announced, and if it plays anything similar to that of Skyrim, I'm never touching that. I'm never touching it.
It's got to change. I need something new out of it. I'm sorry, but like, you can stick with the same formula, but you got to also evolve at some point. Otherwise, you can start losing.
No, they need to go back to the drawing board with Elder Scrolls, because I was so disgusted with what they did with Skyrim.
Really?
Now, I know a lot of people like that game, and I can respect those people for liking the game, but me personally, it is by far the worst Elder Scrolls game I've ever played in my life.
I'm biting my tongue so hard here. I
apologize. I'm not trying to upset anybody.
No, you don't apologize. It's your opinion. It's just like Chief Tommy in the chat getting me riled up saying Doom was overrated. It's like, hey, it's your opinion. I'll never be upset with someone about their opinion on the game. That's cool.
Doom was never overrated.
But I will say this. I think, look, we all know that Starfield is coming. That's the big.
I forgot about that game.
That Starfield, that's the next big thing from Bethesda. Bethesda Game Studios has been quiet for a long time. They acquired Battlecry Studios. Battlecry is no longer a thing, and now Battlecry Studios is Bethesda Game Studios Austin. So they got two studios working on something really, really big.
Yeah, I need Starfield. I need that unique sci-fi futuristic space kind of experience from Bethesda, because that's right up my alley. And I think with the way how Fallout 4 was, it's perfect. They can easily build off that and make something like Starfield to where it's just completely out there alien wise.
There's No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but like the Red Dead Redemption level.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Starfield, we could definitely expect, like with Mass Effect on ice as a franchise, it's a huge opportunity for Bethesda to step up and give everybody a sci-fi RPG.
It would do so well. Well.
It just has to be handled very well and be very good. But at the same time, Bethesda, like Sony, I buy every Bethesda game because even whether they develop it or publish it, they've, as a general rule of thumb, I've never been disappointed in one of their games. Like Skyrim, when I was in high school, was like the best thing in the world. That was like the thing that got me hardcore into RPGs again. Was my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. She traded in her sold her Nintendo DS to buy me Skyrim, and
true love.
I sunk like
sorry for you.
I sunk like 120 hours into that game, and then I went back and played Oblivion, and I fell in love with the series all over again. It'd been a long time, and I prefer Oblivion over Skyrim personally.
Thank you for saying that.
But once again, difference in opinions are always good.
Yeah.
For sure. I just think Bethesda, they have an opportunity, as they always do, to bring so much. They always hit hard. And what I appreciate with Bethesda and with Rage getting a sequel, it absolutely cements it for me. Is Bethesda cares about their games. And everything gets a second chance. I don't think there's an IP Bethesda owns that doesn't have a sequel at this point now. And to me,
I can't think of one. If it exists, it's something obscure for sure.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like with Rage getting a sequel.
What about Brink getting a sequel? Does anyone even remember Brink?
Brink. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about
it, please. I bought that game going, yeah, it looks great, but I'm so disappointed.
Just real quick before you go there, Sam. I just want to say Brink actually had an amazing concept on paper. Like the whole parkour thing and being able to just on paper, it sounded amazing. And then when we finally got it, it just didn't really feel like it lived up to that expectation of
no, not at all.
Yeah, here's the thing about Brink. Brink, you're absolutely right. Brink is the exception. Brink is the IP that they own that hasn't gotten the sequel. Here's the issue there. They'd be willing to, except it was Splash Damage that made it. And right now, I don't think Bethesda has a studio that they're willing to take off of something and put on it, because Splash Damage is now very heavily busy with Microsoft. They're helping the Coalition on Gears.
Right.
If rumor is to be believed, they are working on their own Gears title. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get to that in another episode. But they definitely help the Coalition. They make multiplayer maps and stuff like that. So, as a result of that, I think Brink is an exception where it's sort of out of their hands. Like, they can't make a sequel.
Good point.
But
I was just saying that it's just as a joke because a lot of people don't remember what Brink was. But
no, absolutely. Brink had an amazing pitch.
I wasn't aware. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the concept was amazing. It was
the follow through wasn't.
The follow was just like
potential
was there, but
actually that was another good example.
Yeah, but I think we've pretty much covered most of the topics now. But I just want to say, like, whether it's first party, third party, or anything, we are gearing up for one hell of an E3 this year. Because, like,
I honestly believe it'll be better than last year.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm mainly excited though to see what Microsoft's going to do, and I know we're not going to be talking about that on here, but they're the ones that I'm looking at the most because I just recently bought my Xbox.
I think, at this point.
Well, I agree, but for me personally, though, I just bought this system. It's like 4 months old. In January, so I have kind of a reason, I guess, with that. I guess I'm using it as a cop-out answer. I had that as a cop-out answer.
I think we'll be talking about Microsoft either next episode or episode after that. We'll be talking about Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo E3s, all those very, very soon. Very soon. We actually just put out a piece on TICGN, but our written thoughts on what we'll be seeing from Xbox.
Oh, I'll check that out. I'll definitely read
please
that,
check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's gonna be crazy. Next month is this next month going forward is gonna be crazy for what we're gonna see and everything else. And hell, if you own one platform, you're groovy. If you own two right now, good luck. Good luck buying everything right now. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. If anyone in the chat had any questions for anyone, voice them now or forever hold your peace.
Ask any questions. I asked that. Let's give chat, a minute or two to come up with any questions. While they do, I'll say this. Last thing for Bethesda, pray. Something's coming.
We need pray too.
I don't know if it's an expansion. I don't know if it's a standalone title a la Death of the Outsider, but something's coming for Prey.
I'd rather see a remake of the original classic one that came out.
I know.
My God, man. You hurt me. My heart. My soul.
That was one of the games that sold me on the system. I was like, I need to play this game. I gotta get this game. I need the system so I can play this game, and that's what happened.
That intro was so intense in that game.
Man, that was crazy.
My God, dude.
And you go through the meat factory sort of thing, and you see what happened.
Ship and stuff, dude. Like that was
processed. I was like,
what? And now when you think about it too, as well, it's like when you look back at that game and see how that intro plays out, And then you look at what we're playing nowadays. It's like, what was the last game that actually had an intro that was that like, oh my god?
I don't know. Nothing really. Like I would expect maybe something like Resident Evil 7, but no. That game is more intense to start off with.
All right, so we do have a question. Do you think the king of RPGs will come down between Bethesda and brackets, Elder Scrolls, and CD Projekt Red? Ooh.
For the foreseeable future, yes, because right now they're the only ones working on big RPGs. And I mean big RPGs. I mean no discredit to, the PC, the throwback style CRPG style things like Divinity Original Sin 2, which is coming to consoles. Pillars of Eternity 2, which I'm hearing is a very good game. I mean no disrespect to that. I'm talking in terms of modern, big AAA type
blockbuster sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think for now it will, depending on what Playground is doing with the Fable reboot and whatever happens there. That might be big because Playground is recruiting some serious talent. They've got a lot of developers, people who worked on, Witcher 3, people who worked on Hellblade, people who worked on Metal Gear Solid 5, on Rockstar, on Rockstar's titles. So that'll be interesting, but for the time being, Blizzard, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Just to put my 2 cents in on this, from a console perspective between Bethesda and CD Projekt Red, I would definitely say yes, but from a general sense, when also including PC, I'm going to have to definitely say hell no. Because now with actual Other Side Entertainment coming out and making System Shock 3, which is from the original development team that made System Shock back in the day, Warren Spector, I love you. And on top of that too as well with Underworld Ascensions, CD Projekt Red and Bethesda will never touch that company, period. Period.
Ooh.
If you trust me, if you've seen the stuff that Underworld Ascensions does as far as like the depth of an actual Western RPG, you'll be laughing at what Witcher 3 did, and you'll be laughing at anything Bethesda has put out over the last decade.
Sam's now convulsing in the corner.
Hey, I'm sorry.
We gotta wait for.
I'm not going to say anything.
I think we really gotta wait for that one to really kind of gauge how everything is, because we've been hearing so much for so long. It's gonna be, to me, I have high expectations for that game than I do Red Dead Redemption 2.
What game?
Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take anything away from those games. I'm sure CD Projekt Red is an amazing company. I mean, after all, they founded one of the best gaming websites out there, GOG. So they have a lot of love from me. And Bethesda, I still love them to an extent. I just may not be
massive portfolio for them.
Yeah, they do. But the thing is like, if I'm looking at it from a talent perspective on what's going to actually define like what I come to expect from an extra Western RPG, because I grew up in that time when Western RPGs were very in depth as far as RPG elements, and I'm pretty sure Undead, you know where I'm going with this, like Baldur's Gate wise. So when I heard about System Shock 3 coming out in Underworld Ascensions, and I found out that Other Side Entertainment, which is like essentially the entire team from the Looking Glass way back in the day, that made System Shock and Ultima Underworld and whatever the case may be, I couldn't believe with my own two eyes that Warren Spector was now back making a franchise that is one of the best RPGs experience games I've ever played in my life, being System Shock 2 and also the original Thief and whatnot. So now that these games are coming back into fruition, I mean, yeah, it sucks that it's only going to be on PC only. I would love to have those games come to consoles just to show people it's like, no, this is how you make freaking Western RPGs. This is how you make them done.
Yeah, I suppose they were. They were more immersive sim, if we're being honest, which is kind of a weird genre, but they are RPGs as well. But the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, we already got System Shock 3. It was called Prey.
Prey was terrible. The thing is, I give them A for effort, but no. Definitely no. But the thing was, it's like that's what I come to expect from Western RPGs, and I think that's why. I mean, like right now, I'm not saying Witcher 3 is a bad game. Heck no, I'll get crucified if I said that. The only thing I don't like about Witcher 3, and this is just my opinion on this because I was such a big fan of the first game as far as its combat goes. Its combat was more deeper in the sense of like being able to switch between multiple stances, which I brought strategy to combat, and it kept combat feeling less dry, I guess, in a way. And that's kind of how I felt going into Witcher 3. But everything else about Witcher 3 is amazing in its own right. And you know what I mean? And I can get why a lot of developers look at that and as that game as being in like this industry standard now. when it comes to like spellcrafting and whatever the case may be, put more depth behind it. You know what I mean? Like, I like that complexity, but I understand why they don't do it on console-wise for obvious reasons. I mean, they tried doing it last generation with Two Worlds 2, and I still think that game has one of the best spellcrafting systems in any Western RPG that I've ever played, but I'm just, at this point, I'm ranting. I apologize.
No worries. No, hey, you have spicy takes, and we appreciate that. Even if I don't agree with them, I'll always appreciate some spicy takes.
Hey, the one thing I absolutely love about this show and the people that we have on this show, as a general rule of thumb, I generally pick our guests to be opposite of what our general consensus is, because I have a general, just to wrap up everything, I just have a general dislike for podcasts where everyone just like kind of sits in a circle and agrees on all the same things. It doesn't really. I don't necessarily, those aren't the kind of podcasts I watch, but I don't watch the drama podcasts either. I like people like talking back and forth about different aspects of things they like. I think it's something we've done really good on this podcast, and this episode's been fantastic in that aspect. And we're going to wrap it up here because I'm going to go watch Gotham with my wife. So I want to thank everyone for coming out and supporting the show, and taking time out of your Saturday night. So we'll do outros here. Sam, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Samuel Talbert. I like to keep it nice and easy. And if you want to read what I write on ticgn.com, please do. I write reviews, news, opinion pieces. I may or may not have a big preview piece coming out in just a couple of days and a review following it in just a couple of days for a big game that may or may not be coming out very, very soon. So come check that out.
Subtle.
Oh man, that wasn't vague at all.
No, seriously, that wasn't just barely vague enough to not get in trouble or anything.
What about Agony?
We all know you're playing the newest Madden. It's fine.
You got me.
Newest Madden.
How's that story mode,
everybody?
People can find me at Twitter at RageVirus_X and at TCIGN.com.
There you go.
All right. And our special guest for the evening, I want to thank him for coming out. Fatal Mephisto, where can the people find you?
You can find me. I do technically am starting up YouTube again. I was on here a long time ago under a different name, Bearhugger29, but that didn't really, I just gave up and quit. But I have to come back on here temporarily because my computer sucks, and so none of my applications work on Twitch anymore. But yeah, I posted something in the chat so people can click on my name if they want to and subscribe if you want. I just upload random podcasts and some live streams. I'm currently streaming right now is Conan Exiles on Xbox. It's very, very lonely world over there. Very lonely. Thanks for having me on your show. I had an absolute blast on here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Hey, no, anytime, guys, anytime.
I will make sure to grab your YouTube link and make sure that's in the description for people that catch up with this later.
Appreciate it.
Don't forget, you guys can subscribe to everyone on this panel, follow everyone. It's all the links are in the bottom. I'll have Fatal's Twitter and YouTube links in the description after the show goes off. And I want to thank everyone for stopping by and having another great episode. And don't forget to subscribe, support the podcast if you want. All the links for all that are down below. And we've got some big stuff coming up this week, and that will all be announced on Twitter on Monday. So get excited for that. I hope everyone has a great night, and have a fantastic evening.